Bernstein again. Big opening. Pass 5. Pass 10. Vermont's a man. And he goes all the way to the 15-yard line. 17 yards out the carry.
Welcome back to Believe in Badgers on the Believe Network, presented by betonline.ag and Oak Bridge Wealth Management. I'm Matt Perkins, joined, as always, by Badger legend, the Hebrew Hammer himself, Matt Bernstein. Bernie, how you doing today?
Dude, every day on a podcast, a holiday Matt Perkins, especially when we have fullbacks. My mentor, someone who I looked up to, I tried to take bits and pieces of his game and make it mine, and we can talk about that later. But man, Chad Kuhns starting fullback when I got to the Badgers, one of my favorite dudes to watch. Man, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. It's a pleasure to get to see you again. We haven't talked in a long time.
I think the last time I saw you was at Wando's randomly after a game.
Yeah. Who knows what happened?
Yeah. Well, I think we were older, so you might not remember. You remember? I wouldn't remember. I'm still a degenerate. But Chad, dude, this is a pleasure for me. Getting in touch with Russ and you again. Dudes that were so much older than me. You were senior when I was a redshirt freshman. It's just so cool to get Coach White back on in the last couple of weeks. And just dive into why Chad Kuhns played football, how you were able to, have so much success, what Cecil Martin was like, all these fun things that we'll dive into.
Before we get into it, want to remind everyone tuning in that we are presented by betonline.ag. BetOnline is your number one source for all of your sports betting needs this season. From baseball, golf, soccer, right up to all the top fights in MMA and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 different slot games. Head on over to the website today to get in on the action. Use our promo code BELIEVE for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. That's BLEAV. Bet online. The game starts here. Also want to remind you that we are proud to be brought to you by Chris Anicetti and Oak Bridge Wealth Management. Attention pro and future pro athletes. Chris Anicetti is the man that you need to connect with to get your money right. At Oak Bridge, Chris and his team of professionals will create a comprehensive financial plan to set up you to navigate your lifestyle and future market conditions. Oak Bridge specializes in wealth management for professional athletes. They understand all of the pressures that athletes face on and off the field. Chris and his team will set you up with a bespoke plan to make your money work for you off the field so you can focus on what you do best. Perform on the field. So get in touch with Chris on Instagram at Oakbridge_Anicetti. That's Oakbridge_ANICETE. Or head on over to their website at oakbridgewealthmgmt.com. Oak Bridge Wealth Management.
So Chad, let's start off in Ohio. You're a young kid. You're a little guy. Were you ever a little guy?
I was always. I was as tall as I am now in like 7th grade, so I got lucky there. Russ did not. He went over that a little bit. But yeah, I just kind of got into, and Russ kind of touched on a little bit, if you remember, but he didn't always know the whole story because he was younger and he didn't But I was, we grew up in the trailer, like he said, and so we didn't have a whole lot of money. So I went and got a paper route when I was young, and probably fifth grade or something like that. So I did that for a couple of years, and I'd be riding around delivering papers, and there's always some kids, some punks that were always started to pick on me a little bit, 3 or 4 of them, some older kids, and they started to chase me around. So I'm, trying to pedal as fast as I can, and so I'm tossing out papers. So I'm trying to get away from these guys. So, but that's when I started lifting weights. I was like, all right, well, this isn't going to keep happening. I'm going to start lifting some weights and make sure that if it comes where I have to fight some of these guys, then I can handle myself. So that's how I started, with weightlifting and all that, and that kind of translated over to football. I was just because of that, I was bigger and stronger. And, when it came time to play football, which I loved to do, Russ and I, we just put on he said we put on the pads and we just, even if we didn't have pads, it didn't matter. We just would start running into each other just for something to do. We broke our couch. We had this game that we've always played. It was called 4th and 1, and you stand right in front of the couch, and the other person has the ball, and you got to get on the couch. You get on the couch, it's a touchdown. If you don't, it's not. So the couch was broken.
A variation of kill the carrier, which is what we used to play at school, which is completely not appropriate today.
Right.
It sounds like you guys did that by just you and I. Please go. I just have so many questions about Russ. Like, what was Russ like as a kid? How Chad, you are so different than Russ in so many ways. How fun was it to be around him? But how, do you ever look at Russ and go, man, what the hell are you doing?
A lot of people have questions about Russ. You're not the only one. So, there's a number of different stories I can go. Just kind of. Where do I start here with him?
You don't have to tell him too much.
He was always running his mouth, as you probably could imagine. When he was, a little short, fat kid, and still running his mouth. So I was kind of go, get him out of trouble, with the other kids, that sort of thing. There's. Back in high school, I never drank at all. I really didn't drink mostly through college up until close to I was 21 years old. And it wasn't because it was illegal or anything. I just didn't have any desire to do it. Just some of the things I saw as a kid. Just a kind of an example. We were at the campground or something like that, and I can't remember. But Russ and I were there, and there was this guy was stumbling around in the middle of the day. I damn near fell in the fire. So I'm sitting there. I'm like. I just don't know how anybody do that. Like I don't ever want to be like that. And of course, my brother's probably sitting there taking notes. All right, what's he got over there? He's got a case of beer, a bottle of vodka. He's probably over there. It's like, this looks like a good time. Like I need to see what this guy's doing. So just kind of the different perspective that him and I had on experiences, similar experiences. So in high school, I was. Told him, hey, I better not catch you drinking or anything like that. And of course he did. And I knew about it, but I didn't let him know that I knew about it. I remember it was one time we were, he was at a party and I knew he was there. And I saw his card. I had to go just ask him something. Because back then we couldn't just text and ask a question, so I just stopped over.
It's amazing. You had to literally go find people and ask them a question face to face.
Right, yeah. So I go over to the party. It was he's a year younger than me, so it was some younger kids' party. But I went in there. They didn't care or whatever. And I'm like, "Where's Russ at?" And they said, "Well, he's not here." I was like, "I know he's here. His car's out there." So Russ went and when he heard I was there, he ran in the closet to hide. So one of my friends said, "He's in the closet." I was like, "All right, I'm just going to sit here then. I'm just going to make him sit in the closet for So we're about a half hour into this, and my friend that tells me he's in the closet comes back. He goes, "What are you still doing here?" I was like, "Well, I'm just sitting here making Russ sit in the closet for another half hour." He goes, when he ran in there, he grabbed 2 girls and with him. I'm like, "You son." So I'm sitting there for a half hour for nothing. He's in there having the time of his life. Trying to make the best of any situation. You just.
Wow, that is a great story. It does really sum up kind of your relationship. You're a little bit more straight arrow. Russ is a little more not straight arrow, which it's just funny because when I showed up, Russ and I had so many good times out at the bars and doing things. And I know that wasn't your jam. But so Chad, how you started playing football? You said you were big, you loved it. When did you know you were taking off? Because by your senior year, you were killing it. You had more yards than I had. 2016.
Yeah.
I mean, you 25 touchdowns, 22 touchdowns. I mean, you were dominating.
Oh, I don't even know. Yeah.
How did that happen? How did you, what was your work ethic like? How did you know you could take it to the next level?
I never really thought about it. It was just keep working hard, doing the best I can, trying to make myself put in the extra work, and whatever happens. I mean, I never really, I was always kind of a dream to play at a high level, and then playing. We always had the Browns jerseys on, and you want to play for the NFL and everything. But, he just never thought that was a real reality. So, I never really thought. And around my junior year, I got a couple offers from some MAC schools, and that's when I thought, okay, well, maybe this could happen. But still, the MAC schools really didn't really excite me too much. Was I wanted to be Big Ten. That was kind of where I wanted to be if I was going to go on and do this. There was a funny story that my defensive line coach always still gets on me to this day about. I was getting recruited by Army. I think it was right midway through my senior year, and I didn't know anything about the school, West Point, and none of that stuff. I just never came across it at that point. So the guy, the recruiter, we're in my coach's office in the middle of school, and we're talking about the opportunities at West Point and Army and everything, and I didn't know. He said something that made me hint that it was an all boys school, and I didn't know that. And so I'm sitting there, and I thought about this, and I go, so are any girls there? He goes, no. He goes, all right, well, I'm not going there then. So to this day, when I see my coach, first thing he does, he goes, any girls there? I was kind of embarrassed to ask the question. But yeah, so he goes, he goes, all right. He tried to talk me, and I said, there's no girls, I'm not going. So he just.
So you played fullback or tailback?
So I played fullback, but we ran like a wing T, so I could get the ball 20, 30 times a game, and my lead blocker was my tailback, who was probably 140 to 160 pounds, depending on which one was in there. So, I mean, if it was, first game of the year, my senior year, we were down. We were down by 1. We had just scored with 10 seconds left to go in the game, and I just scored on an ISO play. I had the little 140-pound tailback blocking for me, and we didn't have a kicker, so we had to go for 2. So hey, we're going for 2 for the win. Coach calls timeout, runs over. He goes, asks me, what do you want to run? I said, let's run the same play. Give me Russ, and let's run the same play. Because Russ was, he was 200 pounds back then. I don't know why the hell he gave me a 160-pound lead blocker. So we ran. I said, they can't stop me. Just give me Russ. And I just ran back on the field, and sure enough, here came Russ, and we ran the same play and scored, and the 2-point conversion for the win. So, it was great to be able to play with Russ. And I played defensive end, and he played nose tackle. So we were beside each other on defense all the time, and every now and again, he'd come in and run in the backfield. He'd always be the blocker. I don't think I ever had to block for him, but he would always block for me. So, but it was good to be able to play with him.
That is so amazing, because then you also got to play with him at college level, which is not normal. And we could dive into that, but I love that you asked for him. I feel like you've been his like angel on his shoulder pretty much his entire life. You should get a bracelet like, what would Chad do? And so when did Wisconsin come? Like, when do other schools start saying, hey, Chad, you could play D1 here?
I started getting, back then it was letters. So you get, every week I'd get, probably from my junior year on, I'd get letters, but, letters at that point kind of it meant something, but it didn't really mean anything until you started getting some phone calls or some handwritten letters and that sort of thing. So, I had letters from everywhere. But Coach Mason, I don't know if you remember him, wide receiver coach, great guy. He started showing up at a couple practices. I think he was out to see Chris Chambers, and on the way back, I was just kind of I got time. Let's go see this other kid. Chambers was the guy you wanted. He was the big recruit. So yeah, they showed up at one of our Thursday practices. Coach Mason did, and then he showed up at another one. Didn't talk to me, but just stood there and watched. Actually stood in the stands and watched. And then after the season, they close to after the season, they started coming, and Coach Alvarez came in with Coach Mason, and Coach Hayes came in and visited me at the school and just kind of talked with me and our head coach, and so it just kind of went from there.
Did Barry offer you a scholarship?
Not so I did. So I went. So the very first week of visits, there's the first that was early December, and I don't know if they forgot to mention it to me, but I was there for the first week of visits, and we were there the night before, and then on Sunday, we went and had breakfast at Coach Alvarez's house, and then he would go and meet with everybody individually. But I didn't. Everybody else I talked to said, yeah, I got offered, and I said, well, they didn't offer me. I'm just here, I guess. So, so it wasn't until I met with him that morning that they actually said, we're going to offer you a scholarship if you want to come. And I didn't hesitate. I said, yeah. I said, I'll be here. I'll be here next year. So
that's so cool. Wait, who was your host?
Bill Ferrario.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm assuming you guys might have had a good time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and again, I didn't drink or anything, but we went to the KK, and I just hung out and talked to the guys and everything, and it was like 11:30. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna head back. So Bill's like, oh, no, because he was. So when I talked to him, like after when I first got there, he goes, well, I didn't think you were coming. You left at like 11:30. Like I was like, I just soaking it all in, and I just wanted to go home at that point. But yeah, I definitely was. There was no way I was going to pass up that opportunity. That was my only Power Five, and I wanted to. I felt like I could do it, and so it worked out well. So started 3 years. So
Wait, so your class was fantastic, if I remember. I mean, but you had guys who left because did you redshirt?
Yeah, I redshirted.
So you had guys like Herbs. You had Wendell Bryant, but he was not your class, but he was because he played as a
Wendell was after me. Herbs was after me because neither one was redshirted.
Got it. Okay. So who did you come in with? Because that's a stellar outfit.
So I came in with Fletcher, Jamar Fletcher, Mike Eccles, Chris Chambers. Those were kind of the three big guys, big recruits. Marcanelli, a handful of other guys that didn't really pan out, and they went to they didn't play anymore. Went to some other smaller schools. Trying to think of who else would have been. Jason Schick, Kevin Stemke. He was in our class.
Okay. I'm thinking of that poster where you guys were all gladiators, jacked out of your minds. Oh, I love that.
Nick Davis, he was younger. Chuck Smith was younger. Looking at the poster, Wendell was younger. Those guys just didn't redshirt.
Okay, so you show up. Are you at the Regent when you show up? First day one?
So I went to summertime. I came like 2 weeks before at the end of the summer. I went to the Regent for those 2 weeks, and then it was off to seminary, and so or the camp at seminary, and it was awful. But you didn't know where the hell you're going. You're like, all right, just you can't see anything. You can see a Menard sign way out in the distance. And you're like, if I can just get to civilization after like 5 days, you're like, good Lord, this is terrible.
So dive into that, because literally the first time going to seminary, there are a lot of people who don't go there anymore. Now they're starting camp, but it looks so much nicer. It's at a college. This was like really kind of brutal stuff. It's stuff you used to see in like the 70s, it feels like.
Yeah. No air conditioning, just just sweating every night. It was just. And the food, the food was good. So, I mean, that was about the only bright spot, I guess. So my first year we had 3 a days, and then we cut it down to two a days. But we'd have a practice in the morning. Then you'd have like a half hour to get something to eat, and then you're back out in the field for another hour and a half, and then you had your 2 hour break, whatever. You take a nap, and then back out for another practice, and then you lift 2-3 times a week, and it was just Like I remember Dave Costa, one of our guards. He goes. So what do you think of camp here? And I was like, that's all right. He goes, don't you lie to me. This sucks, doesn't it? It's not my favorite, but
That might have been the worst 18 days of my life every year.
Yeah, and I came in as a freshman. I'm used to being between 210, 215 pounds. And I was, Coach Mason said, hey, you got to start putting some weight on, like right in my senior year. He said, you got to start putting some weight on. So I came in, I was still only 222 when I came in, still way undersized. And, I ended up, I know me and some of the other guys we went down with the scout team, kept on getting sent on the scout team. We're like, man, I think I'm going to redshirt, like you're just used to being like at your small school, hey, I'm the guy, the star player, and now all of a sudden just go down to the scout team. That was an adjustment for sure. I mean, that was, but it was good that I did redshirt. As like I said, I was 222. I didn't have enough weight to even to contribute if I wanted to. But then next year, then I was ended up coming in about 240. That's about where I played most of the time, 238, 240.
Were you at Bryson Thompson was also, were those guys, did Nick Grayson come in with you?
Nick Grayson was a year after him and Herbst came in the same year.
Got it. Right. Okay.
Bryson Thompson was a couple years after.
So during your redshirt year, other than adding weight, what was the toughest adjustment for you?
Just the speed of the game at that time. I mean, it was way faster than what I was used to. Matt, you get the fastest of the fast in high school now on one field that you haven't seen before. Now by the end of my redshirt freshman year, then the game slowed down for me. Everything was it seemed like it was moving in slow motion for me. But before that, man, it was too fast for me to handle.
Believe me, I know. I totally understand it. Because showing up, I'm like, man, Chad knows everything to do. Every single play, I'm like, how does this guy know all this stuff? So what's it like sitting in that room? Because that room was pretty solid when you got there. Cecil Martin, Ron Dayne, Michael Bennett, and Coach White. So what's your first time meeting Coach White? Then what's your first time meeting all those guys?
The room. So the room when you were there, that my senior year was way different than every year before, because the room with you there was like I was the only one that really had a spot established. Mm-hmm. Everybody else was fighting for position, so nobody was messing around in the room. And I was hoping to play some tailback, so I was paying attention too. I was all right. I got to figure out this tailback too, just in case this. I'm like the emergency backup, just in case these three redshirt guys don't work out. So it was it was completely different. But before that, it was. I mean, you had Eddie Faulkner. That it's just Comedy Central in there. Like it was just he was always cracking on everybody about everything. Marcus Carpenter. I don't know if you. That dude's a comedian. That dude's funny. So, and Ron would always be goofing around about something. So it was a much different room than what you saw, I guess. But it was a lot of fun. Now I'll give you an example. Because at that time everybody was kind of set. Ron was the starter, Eddie Faulkner was the backup. And not at this time it was my junior year. I was a starter. Russ was the backup, so everybody kind of knew where they were. So everybody was just kind of making fun of each other when everybody screwed up. So it wasn't a big deal because we all knew where we were. I remember I think it was spring practice before my senior year. We were running a screenplay, and it was a screen to the tailback. So when I was just kind of I didn't have an assignment on the screen. I was kind of the decoy. So if I'm going to go out and hit somebody, so I'm running down the field and one of the linemen knocked somebody over, so I went to jump over them, and I was going for the safety. So I jumped over him, and as I was just getting ready to land, and I'm looking at the safety, and then out of my corner eye, I see Eccles coming at me, and right before I hit the ground, I just see him put his shoulder down like this. I'm like, oh no, this thing. I just see 1 foot hit the ground. He hammered me right in the chest. I went to catch myself with my back foot. My back foot tripped over the guys I just jumped over. So both my feet went up in the air, and it was just flat on my back. These guys, they didn't see it at the time because they're watching the ball. But then, we get in the film room the next day. Of course, everything's filmed. So, if you do something stupid, you hear about it twice. These guys were just cracking on me for, 10, 15 minutes about how stupid I looked, getting knocked over by Eccles. And Coach White goes, Chad, what the hell are you doing here? I said, I didn't think Mike was going to bring it on me, and he did. So, but it was, like I said, it was a much different room, good time. Coach was always fundamentals, hat placement. Hey, so you're 6 inches off where it needed to be. So it was always, he's always on top of every little play, every little detail, and that just kind of stuck with me even now. With my job and everything, every detail counts. Make sure we're picking up all the little things. He's been a big influence on me as not only as football wise, but in my professional career as well.
I gotta ask, because I think Cecil's probably the best fullback to ever play at Wisconsin. What was it like being in the room with him? And what did you take from Cecil that you used when you were playing?
Cecil Cecil was about my size, so we were both about right around that 235, 240 mark. We played at, and just him and I both, we had to play with great technique that allowed us to play bigger than what we were, because 240, you're undersized. Your linebackers are 250, 260, 270 coming at you, and you had to play with good technique. Not like you, Bernie, where you just come in and just smash people.
Russ and I had similar games. It was just violence.
Right. Yeah. Technique. Yeah, we'll get to that if we can, but we're going to try and knock someone's teeth out first and see. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing that him and I both really worked on was playing with technique and playing, make sure we get all the little things correct, that allowed us to play bigger than what we were. We did a lot of passes out of the backfield. I mean, we got the nice thing about blocking for Ron Dayne is when they fake the handoff to him, they're going to chase him and they're going to leave us wide open on the backside. So we were able to get a lot of passes, that way. But Cecil was great. I mean, he was always encouraging. He would always give pointers. When I would watch things for him while he was in the game. He'd come off the sideline. I would talk about, this is what I'm seeing from here. Whenever I was in for him, he'd tell me, come back and do the same thing. Hey, this is what you see you could have done, or that sort of. So even in game, we were trying to make each other better, which is great. And the one thing I remember he said to me, we're probably halfway through my redshirt freshman year, because I was his backup at that point. He goes, hey, if I'm tired, I have no reservations in bringing you in, because you can do everything I can do. And that to me is okay. I've accomplished, greatness, that I can do what Cecil thinks I can do, what he can do, and he's confident of that. So that that made me feel good as a young football player.
Oh, that's so cool. That I love that. You didn't have to do that for me, because I literally suck so bad. I was on the scout team.
Yeah, I didn't get to see. I watched the one before. I didn't get to see a dominant Bernie. I got to see two left feet Bernie is what I got to see. I tried to show by example, and I tried to help you out a little bit, but I'm like, man, I don't got the time for this.
No one had the time for it. Not even Coach White. Believe me, I own up to that. I mean, I came in. I'm surprised they even took me. Like, I was so bad that year. But Chad, you know what's sick though, and I think I told you. I think I told Russ. I told Coach White. This is after the first season. I mean, you graduated. I went into Coach White's room and I'm like, Coach White, I need help, man. Like, I don't know any place. I can't internalize these things. And he's like, all right, come in every day and watch these plays. And I said, all right, that sounds like something I can do. And it was like 25 Bob, 50 times in a row of you running it. I only watched Chad Kuhns film, and it was like over and over. And dude, to just visualize, you did it perfectly. Like, every time. It wasn't huge collisions, but you fit up and you did not let that dude get away from you. And I was like, man, this technique is the best I've ever. It's like outrageous how good it is. And I did try to take some of that, mix it with my kind of different type of, I guess, fullback play. But dude, I watched so much film of you, Chad. You have no idea.
Yeah. I tried, I wasn't, me, I wasn't a rah-rah guy. I was more of a lead by example guy. Make sure I'm, on time for everything, doing the right things, just kind of be an example for everybody. In your year, your freshman year, we had four new linemen that hadn't never played a game before. We had Al Johnson, who's only he played 8 games a year before because we had such a because someone got hurt. Costa broke his ankle, so we had very little experience in that line. So a lot of my time, that year was trying to get these guys ready. As a lineman, especially inside run. I mean, that's our drill. For the running backs. I mean, that's so we got trying to get those guys going, and so yeah. I mean, that was. A lot of my senior year was, as a captain, trying to make sure that we were ready to go when it came game time, especially with all these new guys. But these guys all turned out to be great players. I think they just got kind of thrown into the mix maybe a year before they were ready to.
Speaking of the offensive line, what was your relationship and what did you learn from, the guys that were blocking for you in 99, your Gibsons and McIntoshes and things like that. Casey Robach, how did you sort of get along with them and what kind of pride did you take in, blocking for, Ron's Heisman year?
Yeah, I mean So coming in to that season, my redshirt sophomore season, that was Ron's senior year. So I knew that was going to be big for me, and that was going to be something that I had to make sure that I didn't let anybody down. And these guys that came in the year before me, and they'd all had started. I think they're all 4-year starters, I believe, and they had a ton of experience. Game experience. McIntosh was great. He would always be encouraging. So it's just been, Gibby was, he was kind of kept to himself. He would just, he was just a big dude. I mean, it was just, I'd never seen the human being that big in my life. And it was just amazing that, he'd be doing the splits and stuff like that. Just some of the things he could do was just amazing. But those guys, especially those 3 guys, I was with them for, Casey, Dave, and Bill Ferrario. I mean, those guys, were there, started with me 2 out of the 3 years, and those guys were, those guys didn't make very many mistakes, and that made my job easier too. And every now and again, if they did, we would get on the sidelines and we would figure it out. So I mean, it was. Those guys, the communication with those guys was outstanding, and mid-game adjustments were great because of them, and especially Coach Huber. And Coach Huber was probably the best offensive line coach ever. I mean, that guy, just the things that you would do for him. It was, I mean, he was just great at teaching technique and making it just make sense to you.
You blocked for 3 very different running backs in a row. Ron Dayne, Michael Bennett, and Anthony Davis. What was the hardest thing to adapt to for each of them? And what did what made each of them unique outside of obviously like size and speed differences in terms of how they, wanted you to block or your sort of communication and relationship with them?
So with Ron, I mean, that was, it seemed like Ron was more of an I-back runner. Which was great for me because that means I was, because we're not, fullback's not always in the game every time based on the formation. There was just always some extra motivation knowing that Ron was behind me that year. So it was always give my all, no matter what, and kind of make sure. My goal was always to make sure that whoever I was blocking didn't touch my running back. And that was my goal every time. Whatever it took is, that's what I had to do. I remember, Coach White, there was an article in the paper that said, talk about the way I play. And it just said, complete disregard for my body. Because I remember my girlfriend at the time says, see, I told you, I told you got to settle down with this because I'm always complaining about this aching and that aching. But, hey, that's what you got to do. That's what I signed up for. So. That's why I play.
To piggyback on that, was it hard to form a relationship with each guy? I mean, Michael Bennett, obviously everyone's very different, but for me it's so different. I had AD for 4 years and then Calhoun, but Calhoun showed up a year before because he transferred. Is it hard to form that relationship and like feel that love, or no matter who's back there, you're like, no one's touching that dude?
Yeah, and that was just for me. It is my job. No one's touching that guy. With Michael, I knew I had to get to the guy quicker because Mike was going to get there be on my heels quicker, and he was going to make a cut. And so I had to get. So he was definitely different. I mean, you had to make sure you're hauling. You're getting there as soon as you can. AD was he was more of a read, be patient, read, and make a cut. So I had more time to get on my block with him. So yeah, they were all a little bit different, but just adjust and play the way we need to play.
So we started talking about it before. How cool is it? You called your brother shared your story, and he said you called him and said, "Yo, you got to come up here." Yeah. How did you start that process? Like, do you talk to a coach? Do you just call them and say call them?
Yes. So I talked to Coach Mason shortly after our dad died, and I said, "Hey, I need to get my brother up here with me." He said, "Well, yeah, it's not that easy. I just can't just bring him up here." I said, "We only got so many walk-ons so we can do." I said, "He's better than half the guys you got up here as far as walk-ons." He said, I need you to bring him up here. He goes, "Well, let me get back to you in a couple of days to see what I can do." So he must have talked to whoever, Coach Alvarez and all that, and he came back to me a couple of days later and said, "All right, we're going to do it. We'll get the process started. We'll get him up here." So he came up the next year, and I talked to him. I say, they said they're gonna bring you up here. He said, and Russ has never played linebacker before. And I said, "Hey, I'm going to be playing fullback. If you want a chance to start, other than more than 1 year, you got to learn how to play linebacker. And you have the size and the build for it." And he goes, "All right, well, that's what I'll do." So he came up trying to play linebacker, never played it before. But he had the determination, the hustle. So he did a good job. And then they moved him over to kind of his more natural position as a fullback. And once Carpenter left, Marcus Carpenter left, and then he's my backup after that. So everything worked out, well for him. I thought it was a great experience for him. I was glad he was able to get that experience that he. I was glad to be able to share that with him as well.
I just find it to be so fascinating and so cool. Like the story of that you guys were able to sit in the same room, have the same coach, play on the same field together. Like that is so foreign. It's so hard to do and accomplish. I just love it. I was lucky to be in that room too. I just thought it was amazing.
Yeah. It was a good experience. It was, now some of the antics he got into, and I had to come help him with some of that we won't talk about that too much, but he was a lot of work. So it's definitely a lot of work, but I mean, did you vote for him, by the way, as someone you wanted in a dark alley by Coach White? See, I don't know if we had that back. Well, we might have. I don't know, but so it depends with Russ, because if we're just walking down a dark alley, just mind our own business, then no, because he's going to get us into a fight. But So, but if we're going in there to fight, then yes, that's who I want with me.
God, that makes a lot of sense from my experience. That makes a lot of sense. Right. Oh man, that's so funny.
Like, if we're going in there not to get in a fight, I'm gonna take Jeff Mack with me. He's the nicest guy in the world. No one ever say anything to
him. Nobody ever messes with Jeff Mack. It's amazing.
Oh, you couldn't. Like you tried, and you're like, he's too nice. I can't do it anymore.
No matter what, you could. And he
want to give him a hug,
dude. Yeah, he's great on the football field, but you give him a hug in the KK anytime. He didn't care.
Right.
So, Chad, I think it's really cool. Wisconsin's known for running back you forever, since before you even were there. What's it like to really be at the ground of, not anymore, but fullback you? I mean, if anyone was going to be that, Wisconsin was that. And you were definitely a big piece of that. So what does it feel like to watch, fullback after fullback after fullback have success for the Badgers?
It was good to be able to kind of lay that foundation and kind of lay the example for everybody to kind of follow. And I kind of followed and I don't know who, being from Ohio, I never watched Wisconsin before then. I watched Cecil when Ohio State played Wisconsin when they first did start talking to me a little bit. So that was the first I've ever seen Wisconsin and Cecil, and it was Ron's freshman year. So I mean, just this, on TV they were talking about the size of the line and the way the running backs and the size of the running backs. And like, man, that sounds like my place right there. So yeah, so just to be able to just kind of pass things down. With Cecil, I'm talking about Cecil, the guy before me, and you're talking and it feels great to have you talk about me, and then I'm sure I guarantee there's guys after you that are talking about you as being a good example and wanting to play the way you played and stuff like that. So it's just great to be able to be a part of that kind of that tree, that fullback tree that influence so many other people and motivate them to play the way we played, and sometimes even better than what we played. So,
as you look and as the names pop into my head, I mean, you're talking about guys who've been in the NFL, been in the Pro Bowl, guys who have had so much success. I mean, I never stepped on the field in the NFL, but so much success in college. It's just, to me, it's special. I can name 100 names of guys who, up until, who was the last one? Chanel? That Perkins?
I mean, I guess I think Nowakowski, who's still on the team, but he's just a tight end now.
Yeah.
So Nowakowski and Jackson Aker, like they were technically the last two fullbacks. So
now, Chad, imagine this last year. Yeah. You would have been Jackson Aker. You would have went in and played tailback when everyone went down. So I saw that. I saw the game when you went in at tailback. I'm like, all this, I just, I had played a little bit of tailback, in practice, just because, again, we didn't know these through redshirt freshmen, so they kind of started working me in a little bit just to see. But yeah, I never got the opportunity that you got, where everybody got, enough people got hurt that I would, I mean, it would have been good. I was jealous. I was happy for you. You see, you're hurting people, running people over. The announcers on the TV that night were just going nuts about the way you're running the ball, and it was. I was happy for you. It was awesome to see. I appreciate that. Thank you. I think Coach White says it's like just the constant doing things correctly. That's not the quote, but I can't remember it. And I really attribute a lot to watching you at practice, man. I mean, getting tailback reps, doing fullback things perfectly. Dude, you set a bar so high that it was a challenge to always try to get to. Like, I'm not just blowing smoke. Like, to me, that was so, dude, I was never going to hit your level, like your ceiling of technique, but I'm like, man, I could try to get close. And every day I was like, keep doing it. And I just think it was so fun. Like, Chad, who knows what any of us would have been if you weren't in that room.
I don't know. I appreciate that. Like I said, just trying to do the best I can and just trying to be an example for everybody. And so, yeah, I'm glad you benefited from it.
I definitely did. So you now get to be a father, and you have a son who's playing football, and you get to see CB Dub, Coach Brian White, at camps. You have a daughter who's going to Bowling Green.
Yep.
How kind of full circle is that for you? Like, how fun is it? How much do you think it means to Coach White?
Well, it means a lot to me. I love going up to see him. I've seen him the last 2 years, and at the camp, I took my son up to, just when I heard he was the coach there. I went up to go up to a couple games every year and see him. Go to the camps. Like I said, my daughter's going to school there, so we went up just for her orientation. And I called Coach White and said, "Hey, I'll be there tomorrow for my daughter's orientation. There's a lunch break. I'm gonna come over and see you." So I went over and saw him on my lunch break. And just sit there and talk with him a little bit, and so yeah, it'll with my daughter going there, I'll be there quite a bit, and I'll see both of them. So Coach White, he was around when my dad died, so he was there to kind of fill in a little bit, and he probably doesn't realize that, but he means a lot more to me than he knows.
I think, he kind of teared up a little. So I do think he knows how much we appreciate him now, especially for looking back, so easy to, now you can say, "Hey, Coach White," we can text, you can say it on Facebook, like how much you mean. And without that guy, I think none of us are anywhere, because he was so special. I know, Chad, we're almost done here.
I got a quick question.
Go for it.
CBW question. What's your favorite Brian Whiteism?
He had a bunch of sayings. It was, he'd always, when you're blocking, you'd always say, "Hey, you got to make sure you bring some ass to the party." You can't. Everybody likes a guy to bring some ass to the party. So so that was one of the things he would say that I don't think I heard when I watched the podcast of him. But
that's a good one.
That would be one thing.
He did not say that on the podcast, but it is a good one.
Yeah.
Chad, what are some of your best memories on the field at Camp Randall?
Iowa game when Ron broke the record for sure. I mean, that's that whole game. We started out as I had 2 or 3 catches right away in that first drive and scored the first touchdown. And then just be able to dominate Iowa that day. And I talking to Ron, he was close to the record. He was maybe 10, 15 yards away. I can't remember what it was, but I was, again, the fullbacks were not always in on every play. There's single back sets. So between the series, it's like, look, Ron, you're close. He goes, you can't break the record without me in there. So we ran a play that, again, single back as first time out in the next series. And then it was 22 zone, and I was in there, and I said, "All right, guys, this is it. Let's go." And sure enough, that was it. We everybody, we broke the record there. Helped Ron break the record there, and it was just awesome just to see the fans and stopping the play and stopping the game and everything to recognize it for Ron, and it was just awesome. That was by far the best Camp Randall experience ever for me.
Is that it? That's all that was said in the huddle. Like, come on, guys, let's do it right now. Like, that's it. Were people talking about it? Like, what was pregame like leading up to it?
We didn't talk about it. We knew we had to do our jobs. So talking about it doesn't help us if we don't go out there and do our job. So we just go out there and handle the business when we got on the field, and that was pretty much it. Just I was those linemen are in every play. I say, hey guys, this is gonna be it right here. Like I might not be in the next play, so we got to get it done now. So.
What a memory that I think every Wisconsin fan ever will always have, even if it was me like 2 years, 3 years after. Just I can think of that's all I think about is when you see Ron Dayne, you think of that play, and it's so funny. To when Matt Perkins asked about the difference between AD and Ron, Coach White asked AD, "Hey, what kind of zone? Like, what zone do you like?" And he liked 24 zone, or the one that was outside a little more.
Outside.
So it's just so interesting. Like Ron loved pretty much straight up and down, and AD liked it like the gap to the right or left. It was so interesting to hear that people like different plays. I don't know, because coming from like the wing T, it was like, dude, you did 22 slant. There was no other way to do it except go to the left if you were going to the right.
Yeah, I tell you one play I didn't like was 122 slide draw. That play I didn't like. That's I tell you what.
I think you're about the 6th person who said they hate that play.
Yeah.
You know who likes that play?
And
Coach White
does. Yeah. Because I was talking to him last year at camp when my son was there, and I was talking to him, and he was like, you know what? Whenever I get stuck, I didn't know what to call. I just called 122 slide draw. I was like, yeah, I know. It
was like 3rd and 20. You're like 21 personnel. I'm like, no, coach, don't call slide draw. No, it's coming. You're like all these guys, Jeff Mack and all these dudes, like laughing when you run in on 3rd and 20. I was like, Coach White, put it in on 7-on-7. See how funny that is. Put the slide draw in when you're doing a passing shell and run up on the middle linebacker. They're not expecting a run. I'm like, they're always expecting it. But I know, I think that's when I started learning the hand signals that came in. And I was like, no.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
I never did trying to learn those.
I'm like 122, and Stocko would run in the huddle and be like, all right, Bern, you're up. I'm like, I already know it's slide draw. Let's go to the line. Like, let's go, guys. Let's get it.
If you've watched one game of film, once we do that little slide step, the linebacker's just hauling right at us.
Oh, man.
Like, it's going to be a train wreck there.
Wreck.
You just got to.
Never an easy hit. So, Chad, to end this, I know Matt Perkins always has like a couple questions, but who is the toughest dude to block?
In practice or just overall?
Yeah.
Overall. No one. There's. From Northwestern.
Pat Fitzgerald.
Napoleon Harris.
Okay.
That dude was a big dude, and he was crazy. He didn't care. He was a cheap shot, son of a. He cheap shot me a couple of times too, even on a kickoffs. I don't know if it was him or who it was, but kick return. It was like we did a onside kick, and I don't know if it was him or if it was someone else, but someone smoked me. I was standing by the pile and for no reason. But he was definitely a handful. That I think it would have been my sophomore year. He was good. He's a good player.
Favorite
practice? Yeah, I was gonna say practice.
Practice wise, Donnell Thompson. That dude is a brick wall. I could run the slide draw against him. He just he just knew it was going to hurt. But we run Bob and 9-on-7. This is a story for you here. Godorsey. I don't know if you remember Chris Godorsey. He was big, 6'3", 250 or so. He came up to me, I think my sophomore year. He goes, "Look, man, we got to figure something out here. We're just killing each other here." And I said, "All right, I'm listening. What are you thinking?" He goes, "Hey, let's just get something figured out. Let's just make sure we can fit up here." So I said, "All right." I said, let's when we break the huddle, if it's Bob, which means I'm blocking you, I'm gonna stare right at you as soon as I come out of the huddle. Like I'm just right on you. You know what's gonna happen, right? And then I'll do my normal look left, look right, like I normally do. That way, when they check the film the next day, they don't see everything looks the same as it always does. But yeah, him and I had a deal. We just get right up there. We fit up there and make it look good, and we did it all season long. So and then I know, and then Bryson Thompson, the next year goes, "Hey, Godorsey says you guys got a deal here. I went in on this." so me and Bryson then had the deal, and we did the same thing. And then Jeff Mack, I just told him because I didn't want to hit him. So I said, "Jeff, here's the deal, man. I'll let you know when I'm coming at you, and we'll just fit it up, make it look nice."
And then they took it out on me, Chad. Thanks a lot.
We had to save our hits for game day.
Dude, so now that it's funny that what was your least favorite play?
Least slide draw for sure.
Oh, that's right. But on inside drill.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't do slide draw there. Probably power.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It depends on because the linebacker, they try and wrong shoulder you every now and again, and all that. And a couple of times I got caught ear hold a couple of times trying to get my head across. So yeah, because of that, that's probably power. And so I mean, for us, it was power, Bob, and slide draw. That's where you knew it was just the all out collision. All the other plays, there was a guard pulling in front of you. You had to negotiate through the traffic, trying to find where your entry point was, and this and that. So those were the only three plays that really was, hey, it's a full speed collision coming at you.
And they also know it's coming because they get the script. my favorite play in outside or in 9-on-7 was handoff. I was like, yeah, I might not even hit anyone this time. This is great.
Right. Yeah.
I got to run through. Jimmy Leonard's out there. Coach Alvar's like, don't touch that guy. I'm like, this is the best play. I'll run this all day today.
Right. We might get a safety at the 185-pound safety at the worst case scenario,
Oh, man. Well, Chad, I know we hit our time, Ed. This has been so great. Thank you so much for joining us. It's truly special to see you again and to have you on and to be able to share some of my feelings with you. I truly love you and Russ, and to be in that room was really something special. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you to everyone tuning in from wherever you are to Believe in Badgers on the Believe Network, presented by BetOnline.ag and Oak Bridge Wealth Management. Until next time, on Wisconsin.